president said he will not certify that Iran is complying with the 2015 nuclear deal reached by President Barack Obama. The move does not mean that the U.S. will pull out of that deal, but the president is expected to lay out a broader policy on Iran.
Yeah, so here are some of the core elements that we've just gotten from a White House statement. Quote, the U.S. will focus on neutralizing the government of Iran's destabilizing influence and constraining its aggression, particularly its support for terrorism and militants. Washington will also revitalize our traditional alliances and regional partnerships as bulwarks against Iranian subversion and restore a more stable balance of power in that region. And the U.S. will deny the Iranian regime all paths to a nuclear weapon. Now, we should say that Congress has 60 days to consider reinstating sanctions that had been lifted under the nuclear agreement. So basically, Congress will ultimately decide the fate of this agreement. But President Trump, again, delivering on a campaign promise.
Yeah, with that, with Obamacare, we'll see. The speech will be live starting at 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, Fox Business will carry that for you. Well, War Stories host Oliver North strongly criticizing the nuclear deal with Tehran.
The Iranian nuke deal is worse for the American people than Obamacare. They can both kill you. It's just a matter of how many and how fast.
For more on this, former Assistant Secretary of Defense Larry Korb joins us on the phone. Larry is also a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress. Good morning, Larry. We just got the news from the Trump administration. What exactly do you think the president will do here?
Well, basically, what he is doing under the law, every 90 days, he has to certify that Iran is complying with the deal. Essentially, what he says is, I'm really not going to certify that they're complying with the deal, not because they're not complying with the deal, but because of all their other behavior in the region.
We just heard that soundbite from Oliver North. Why is this deal, the Iranian deal as it stands now, why is it so bad?
Well, it is not bad. Actually, it is one of the best arms control agreements we've ever had, much better than when I worked with President Reagan that we had with then the Soviet Union and now Russia. And I think what's happened, we've taken our mind off, our focus off the deal about nuclear weapons and then talked about a whole bunch of other issues. We can still do both. And, in fact, that's what our European allies work with us to get the nuclear deal, because that's the biggest threat to the region, because if Iran were to get nuclear weapons and the Saudis would do, and you'd have a nuclear arms race in that part of the world. So
we're going to see changes to the deal then?
Well, again, we're not quite sure. This almost gives us the worst of all possible worlds, because you say, well, we're not going to certify you're complying with it, even though the International Atomic Energy says that we are. On the other hand, he's not telling Congress in this thing, the way I read it, that, you should, put the sanctions back on. So what have you got? You've got a lot of confusion here. And, in fact, what could happen economically is our European allies, Russia and China, could benefit more economically because they can do more business with Iran. I mean, one of the deals is in jeopardy now. What about the Boeing was going to sell, all the planes to Iran? Will that deal go through now?
All right, Larry Korb, thank you so much. And, of course, we're going to see how our European allies and also how Iran responds to the president's formal announcement when we get it later today. Larry, thank you.